The Ice Axe Leash. In 2022, it's pretty uncommon for people to use a leash on their ice axe. There are several reasons for this. First, when you're climbing, you want your ice axe on your uphill hand. So every time you turn, you change hands. If you have to actually take that leash off one hand and put it on the other, it slows everything down. Second, most people wear gloves with fingers. One of the reasons you might consider a leash on an ice axe is when you wear mittens, where it's more likely to drop the axe. People drop axes, but they almost never disappear down a crevasse or something. The likelihood of you dropping your axe, wearing gloves, and losing it down the mountain is pretty low. The likelihood of switching hands interrupting your movement is really high. And indeed, the likelihood of switching hands and messing around with your leash, making you unstable in your turns in steep and consequential terrain is yet even higher. So yes, using a leash while you're wearing mittens could be good. I'm going to try to avoid it whenever I can, just because it's so hard to manage the axe. But it's a thought. So where do leashes come into play? Well, in the old days, we used leashes for steep ice climbing. Now we have a finger pommel more commonly, and we go leashless as much as possible. Another place where leashes can be good is for chopping steps. Again, good crampons and things. We don't do that much. And finally, a leash could be good if you're just in this kind of high-end, super cold, high mountain environment. A high mountain being like Himalaya type environment. The most common leash is on the wrist. But in these high mountain environments, sometimes they clip them to their harness. The problem with that, of course, is if you fall and you lose control of your ice axe, it could pierce you. And that's a real concern. But there's this weighing of risk all the time that we do. And for most of my climbing, the risk of losing the ice axe is pretty low. And all these other things are more complicated and make it maybe not worth it to have a leash.